Hey traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Tribeca at Trade Group, and today is Tuesday, June 19th, Tariff Tuesday. I'm just kidding. You have to joke around a little bit about what's been going on in the tape, but yeah, I mean we're continuously kind of battling with this headlines and so forth. There's always, I mean, you're never going to come across a time in the marketplace where it's complete headline free and complete everything works in a vacuum. There's always distractions on the tape. So, just something that if you've been trading for a while, you've probably just realized that you're never going to have, a headline-free tape. But so first things first, a couple names that reported after the close. FedEx. FedEx is a tough name for earnings. They had really good numbers, I thought, unless I'm missing something. But they just don't move. They're one of those names. We do go over earnings plays, and if the situation is right, I do go long for earnings, like I did for Restoration Hardware last week. But when the names just have a history of not really moving too much, Oracle also goes back and forth, and I think Oracle's off the highs right now. But if you look at the earnings history for Oracle, which I think had really good numbers. Has been down the last 3 quarters, so I stayed away from that name. I'm a spectator. Let's see what we're doing. Yeah, I mean, we're basically back to flat. Name just has a very difficult time rallying for earnings. So, again, being selective, I think, really pays off. We talked about that yesterday. I'm going to talk about that as well today, just about positioning and so forth. So what did we get today? If we go through the technicals in the S&P, we came in and China was really down pretty heavily, right? All in all, I think you have to kind of be happy with how U.S. markets finished today. All in all, the S&P just down fractionally, down 40 basis points. The Q's the same. IWM green, which I'm going to talk about that. But considering what happened to China, down almost 3% on the day. The Shanghai down 3.5%. That's the local Hang Seng, excuse me, that's the local A shares, the Shanghai. The H shares are different, the Hang Seng. But before we go into our markets and look at our charts, the Hang Seng, which is has been one of the strongest emerging markets, has now broken below the 200-day moving average. So again, I put this in the newsletter this weekend. This is a must-watch area, emerging markets right now. If they continue to go down, I would rather be positioned lighter overall, especially in options. So that did break the 200-day moving average. I think watching, paying attention to how China opens and closes tomorrow will be interesting. Looking at the S&P chart, notice I've got a lot of lines drawn in here. I could probably take away this one at this point because this is now the June value area. But notice that the price action got right down to that top of value, and we bounced. So all in all, pretty good. The other day I talked about how all the major U.S. indices are above the short-term moving averages. Well, not anymore. We're now between the 5 and the 20. The 20 is a pretty good moving average, I think, to watch. If we and as well as that top of value, if we break into value. That should give us an indicator that we're more into a neutral territory right now. And a lot of differences between sectors, and I'll continue to go through the major indices. The Qs were down at 1.4% on the day, and finished again just fractionally down. So still maintaining this right around that 5-period moving average. And then of course small caps. Right now, I will continue to play this as a day trade. I think I mentioned it yesterday and in yesterday's video. Every time there's this tariff stuff, IWM is more sheltered, and it's been working very well, buying this on the dip. Today was a little bit difficult. I'll walk through my day trade today in IWM. It was not off to a good start today. I'm always happy to go through exactly what I did and my P&L and all that stuff, what trades worked, what trades didn't. But I went right into IWM right in the beginning of the day thinking, hey, I've got my chance again. It was not down that much. It was only down about 40 or 50 basis points, and that may have been the error. But always make sure if you're day trading, which again, I am more of a swing trader, but I did not really do any swing trading today. I just thought today was a good day to day trade. A lot more opportunities when we have that volatility, intraday volatility. I added to a couple things, very small, which I'll get to, but for the most part, I did not really take on any new swing trades. It was all about day trading today. So I started right here. I added to my IWM in here, thinking that, hey, now we're going to go. And we didn't. We broke again. So I added small down here. I wish I would have added in bigger size, but I didn't. 2020, hindsight is 2020, of course. And then I started to take this thing off, considering it was such a battle to get it back over here. I started to take the trade off here, and I took most of the trade off at the point of control. And just like yesterday, you would think I would have learned from yesterday. Yesterday, I had a nice trade, which I did the same thing. I bought on the open, first or second 5-minute bar, and I sold it here at the top of value. I did not get the benefit of this or this yesterday. So you would think I should have learned from yesterday and held the last piece, but that's okay. I was happy the way traded, and it was a profitable trade, so that's fine. But again, these small caps I think are the better play right now. So I'll continue to do that until it works. When it opens down at least 0.5% on trade tariff stuff, or trade war, whatever you want to call it. A couple other trades that I did today for day trades, as I mentioned, I was pretty active. You could probably see that in here. Bring up just so you can see I'm not making it up. I got out of a couple other things this morning too that were not, I've been holding on to Sogu for a while. I didn't see where that finished, but I got out of Sogu. I got out of my last Roku, which was a nice trade, 45, 41. Again, eventually some of these names are going to come back in. So, happy to take profits in a couple of those names. But yeah, I got into IWM here, added some more. Google was a big trade for me. So, big move in Amazon today, and some of the names, again, always important to watch what names perform really well. But Amazon really took off. I did not play Amazon. I missed it. But I did play Google. I played Google right in here. Once I saw what was going on with Amazon, I'm like, all right, maybe some of these other names are going to catch. So this was a nice trade for me. Basically I almost got back to flat in P&L overall. I did not. I ended up down on the day because not everything I was holding actually rebounded quite nicely as the overall indices. Some things kind of just stayed, maybe, rebounded a little bit from the lows, but, didn't come back to flat. So, I tried to battle and get P&L back to flat today. Basically, I lost yesterday's gains, which is okay because, this morning my P&L was looking pretty nasty. So it is what it is. So those were the two trades. Also, I played Square. Square ended up being a small winner. I like this name today because first of all, we've been seeing call buying in the name, but there's also another payment processor name that was acquired today. So I thought it might get a little bit of a boost. That did okay. Those were my three major trades for the day. Option activity. We saw some box repeat calls again today. I don't know why it looks like it's trading down here a little bit. But they did come after box again today, which I think is always a good signal when that happens. You could see the September calls were the most active, 32 calls traded, and that was an opening trade. Might as well go through a couple other trades. By the way, this morning's option activity was very, very quiet. There was actually more put buying in the single names, which was a little bit different. But we saw BABA puts, Microsoft puts, Q's puts. To me, it kind of makes a little bit of sense why they're buying some puts in some of these Chinese internet names. They are really extended the ADRs from the local shares, the local Hang Seng shares. So something has to give. Either Hang Seng, I hope, is going to rally tonight. If not, it might be tough sledding for the Chinese internet names for a little bit. They did finish down, I think, down? They were your worst performing sector, down 2.8% for the day. Other sectors that really didn't get off the mat too much were defense names. Industrial names finished down over 2%. Material names finished down 1.8%. So there's, even though the major indices rebounded and IWM was green, there's still a lot of areas that are associated with, a little bit, have more exposure to China and did not come back. We did see some NDLS calls. That's the second day in a row small cap name. We saw a little bit of take-two calls, square calls I mentioned, box, Micron. Micron, beautiful reversal day. Will be interesting tomorrow, if this also rallies into the earnings print. You could see a nice little reversal bar and price now above, whenever this fills in here, price back above the short-term moving averages. So pretty nice looking move there. By the way, it was not all negative in emerging markets. Take a look at the EWZ, Brazil ETF. Somebody asked me if there was call buying today in EWZ. No, there wasn't, but keep in mind, stuff goes up. You don't need call buying for things to go up. So I always like to talk about that. Finished up 2%. Also, Russia finished up just barely in the green as well, coming back from the lows. One thing, sometimes I do mention that I give you the positives and the negatives about option flow. What's really good about option flow on days like this is it gives you a sense of institutional buyers are coming back into the market. So we started to see that in the afternoon. You could see, probably from this point on, these were all trades that happened after lunchtime. So, they did start to kind of pick. There wasn't really huge trades that went up, but little bit of buying in here and there. In the morning, it was like I said, there was more puts I think that went up than calls, and a lot of the calls that were taking place were in a couple farmer names after the Sarepta move. One last thing I was going to mention about another thing to watch is the VIX, which helps a lot on days like this. Notice that it started to ramp up a little bit. After the open, the VIX started to dive, ramped back up. Luckily we did not take out the highs, the pre-market highs. But this is really good to watch, not to trade, but just to kind of see if volatility is diminishing or if it's really well bid. If we would have taken out the highs, I would have been forced to kind of unwind some things. But we did not, and we kind of hung in there. We fell back to the 200-day moving average, or 200-period moving average. I'm on a 5-minute bar. We rallied, the VIX rallied. Volatility started to rally a bit, and then towards the end of the day, this was after Trump finished his speech. Once he finished, volatility just fell out of bed. So that's that. I'll leave it there. A little bit of a tiny bit shorter video than normal. Have a great night, everybody, and see you guys back in the trading room. Sorry, one thing I just wanted to talk about strategy. I think just continuing to position a little bit lighter than normal. Have a very nimble portfolio. Where you're not going to be hung up on, if we're down on the day, where you're trying to shovel out, and get back to positive. That's going to happen on days when we open down over 1%. But days where we just open down 0.5%, which I think can happen with what's going on with the tape. So being a little bit more nimble and being able to buy things, going out and when things are on sale, when like the Qs were down 1.4%, you want to have that frame of mind. So the only way that you could do that is to be a little bit lighter in positioning, and also quantity of positions in terms of option positions I'm referring to. All right, guys, have a great night and see you tomorrow.